Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. And for today's video, we're going to discuss about formatter. So let's start. Start with, let us create a new file and we're going to name this as demo6.js. Then we're going to click this demo1.js and let's copy all the content from here. Right? Next, we're going to rename this function here to demo6. Also, make sure you modify also the index.js. So from here, we're going to change this as demo6 and this as well. Then let's run our program. And there you go. In this video, we're going to modify this certain column, especially this numeric part. What we're going to do is we're going to customize according to numeric, also with currency. So let's start. But first, we need to minimize this browser. Now let's head back to our demo6.js. Okay. So before we're going to proceed with this modification, let us modify some of the content from here. So let's begin with the page header. So let's say going to copy this one. So this is from our previous demo. Okay. So let's apply this header in our page header. Okay, good. Next, let's modify also this table here. So head back also to demo2.js. And we're going to copy these details. Okay, so from here, we're going to copy this one and we're going to replace this content in the detail section. All right. Next, we're going to adjust also the margins. So from here, I'm going to set the margins. So we're going to set this to 40. And there you go. All right, so this is a little bit presentable. So let's proceed now on the next step. Before we proceed, let us adjust a little bit our table. So let's say going to modi or a little bit lessen on the left corner. So for the header, I'm going to set to 50, and here as well, we're going to set as 50. And there you go. Okay, so at this point here, this table is ready to go. So next, beside from this data, I'm going to add one more columns and we're going to name that as quantity. So let's say going to copy this one here. Let's change this to QTY. So let's say this is 30. Okay, so we'll simply modify everything or from each row. So you can do any random numbers from this section. So let's say, okay, so let's say going to change this from any random, it's fine. So 10, 15, 20, 20, this is 40, this is 80. Okay, same goes. So also on the header section, we're going to add that column. So this serves as the quantity. Next, also on the details, let's copy this one. It should be QTY. Okay, so let's see our table. And there you go. So we're going to adjust each column. Make sure we're going to keep everything accordingly. So let's head back to our header. So since these are only few values or few in length, so let's say I'm going to starting from category to points and to quantity. Let's say we're going to less that to 50. Same goes with our detail. Save that. All right. So I guess we need to modify or adjust also the supplier name. So let's say this is 250. Okay, good. So I guess this is much prettier. So we need to adjust one more on the left corner and we're all set. So let's set back now or change this to 60 from our header. Same goes with our details. And there you go. Next, since we're dealing with quantity, I want this value to be represent as our currency. So let's say I'm going to change everything here to dollar with the dollar sign. So to do that, let's head over to our details. So from here, this is the section where you're going to modify the display. So besides from our value, we can also change the way how it looks. So let's say for this one. So for our quantity, I'm going to add here this dollar sign. Okay. So we need to add this dollar sign. This indicates that this is a currency. Let's save that. And there you go. Also, besides this currency display, we can also customize the decimal of each numeric value. And to do that, let's head over to our code. Then from here, we can simply add the decimal places. So let's say for this one, for the points and the quantity, please take note, this only applies to numeric values. So let's say this one, we're going to apply the common JavaScript function, which is the fix. Same goes, let's apply also that to our quantity. Okay, so make sure you save that. Then let's head over to our browser and let's reload. And there you go. So notice here, these are all now definitely a pretty much display or a nice display for our currency. So same goes, we just added this also in the normal numeric values. So either way, as long the value is numeric, so you can apply any uh, principles or functions that can be also used in JavaScript. All right, complete this value. Let us add a total of each column. So we're going to display a total down below for points. Same goes with quantity. So let's start. Now, if you recall our previous demo, we're going to display that or apply the functions, let's say sum. Okay, this will calculate the value. So this should capture it for each column. So let's say we're going to calculate the sum of points, also the value of quantity. Okay, next, to fill up the value, we need to display that in our footer. So let's start. So from here, let's create a function. We're going to name this as cons final summary. The same goes, just the usual function that we always do. So from here, going to add the object, which is the RPT. Then let's call for the standard footer. And from here, let's display the following. So let's say going to display the total points for the points. And I'm going to assign this from this location. The same goes. Going to add also the quantity. Then going to set the location display. Okay. So next, we're going to apply this in our page footer. Now let's say going to move this header here. Going to move this in here. Then from here, I'm going to also add the page footer. So let's copy this function. Okay, make sure you save that. And let's check. Okay, so one more time. Okay, so let's review this one. So let's check our code. So according here, cannot access RPT before initialization. So probably there's an error with our last module or a last function. So let's check. So, okay. So I think this is the problem because it won't recognize the variable. See? So this is RTP, in fact, this is RPT. So let's replace that. Okay. So let's, okay. So since we don't need this data anymore because we didn't apply here, it's safe to say we can remove this one. Okay. So this should work. So let's try our browser again. Okay, good. So everything here is workable. All right. Now that we managed to display the total values, the next thing we need to do now is to copy the format. So notice here, since we already customized this to this display, like this, most especially also this currency also. So there's no way for us to display that in the total. Now, for us to fix this one or to get the proper display for the total, we need to modify that. And we're going to add the properties, what we call this total formatter. That is also a one of the properties in Fluent Reports. So let's say going to add that. Okay. So we're going to call that uh, properties. That is total formatter. Okay. So also we're going to apply or create a function for this one. So let's copy this one. Okay. So we're going to apply that here. Let's copy this one. Okay. For total formatter, we have two functions to return. First, we need to call these properties, the data, and the other one is the callback. Now, what it does is these are the properties that we're going to return with the formatted value. Now, besides from this one, we need to assign this value, or this callback. Okay, so this is the format. Okay, and here we're going to return the formatted value. Now, for now, we don't have the value yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to check first if this is working. So for us to confirm, let us uh, type this one. This is the console.log. So a typical debugger or JavaScript. Okay. Since we're working with Node, so this is also, or any functions with the normal JavaScript still works in Node. So in this objective, we're going to check the value if this value captures the data. So let's try to check that one. Let's see our preview in our terminal. Okay, so here, notice here. Okay, so this value here represents the total value. So definitely, uh, we can see it here already. So once you see this value listed on your terminal, so which means we can now modify this one, same as what we're planning to do from the very start. So we're going to copy those same format and this will format the total values and it will return these values to our front end. So let's start, right? To modify that, let's head over to our total formatter. We can remove this now. And from here, let's call or execute this for loop. So from here, let's call this key in data. So from here, it will going to examine the data value by checking the key. Now, we're going to make a condition wherein our data, it has own property. Okay. So what it does, it confirms if the key exists in this data. Now, once confirmed, let's make a checking by asking if the key is equals to points. Okay, so basically, for the points, we just apply the value. So we're going to call these the array, which is the data, and the key. So key is basically the value that gets the column header. So from here, we're going to apply the function that we want to display. Let's say for the key points, let's apply this one. Okay. Now, for this to display properly, we need to make sure that we're going to capture the data. All right. So, so this is the format we want. We want to set to fix. Same goes with our data here. So next, we want to display also this section, second section here. So to do that, let's copy this section here. Then let's check if the key is considered equal to quantity. Now, let's apply that format. Going to copy this one and place it here. All right, so let's check this one. And there you go. So from this section here, notice our points here did not display correctly. So let's get back to this one and see why does it did not display. So, okay. So that's, okay. So, it's because we only name this to point. So remember here, it should be points. All right. So let's try that one. And there you go. Okay, cool. Okay, next. Since we're dealing with quantity, I want to increase the value here. But first, for that to take effect, I want to increase the width of this quantity column. I guess also for this category. So I want to increase also this space so that all fits in its header section. So let's try that. Okay. For the category, going to set this to 55. For the quantity, let's try 55 as well. So category here, 55. Quantity should also 55. Let's save that. Okay, good. For the quantity, I want to increase more. Since we're added more values, let's say 1000. So I'm going to increase the width for this one. So let's say here, this should be 60. Okay, so let's try that. Not quite. Okay, let's try adding a temporary value here. So let's say uh, I want this value here to be 1000. Okay, Now, if you check our value, okay. So yeah, probably nice. Okay. So maybe a little more. I want to increase a little more for this column. So let's say it should be 70. Okay, cool. So I guess that's the one. Okay. So for our next coding, I want to emphasize the display for 1000. So let's say here. So I want to specify the comma so that it will read a string with the comma value. Let's say 1000 should be 1 comma and these decimal places here. So same goes with the total. So right now, we cannot see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend that function. Okay. So since we already started applying the JavaScript action in each column, most especially here in the formatter. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend that function. That function will read the decimal places. So let's try that one. For our decimal places, we're going to create a new function. So from here, let's head over on this section here. Okay. So from here, let's add a additional function. I'm going to name that as format number. So what it does is, okay, so let's complete this first. Okay. So what it does is we're going to apply an input variables. So the first one should be the number. The next one is the num decimals. Okay. And the third one should be the include comma. Okay. So let's change this to this. All right. Okay. So now that we have our function, let's apply the formula for that. So to do that, let's apply the return value here. Then we're going to call this number. Then we're going to set this function to local string. Okay, so this is a formatter. So now we're going to format that to English or English US. Okay, so let's open comma here. So from here, let's apply the other groups. So first, we're going to call the use grouping. Now, for the use grouping, I'm going to call the include comma. Next. So also we're going to apply minimum fraction digits. Okay. So let's apply these num decimals from here. Okay. So let's also copy this one. Okay. So from here, let's name this as maximum. Okay. So this is the maximum fraction digits. Okay. So This is the basic formatter for that decimal places. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to call this function uh, so that it will be applied also locally to the other function. Now, to do that, uh, let's revise the content. So from here, instead of module.exports, I'm going to assign this to cons self. Okay, so this is much easier. Then from here, instead from this one, I'm going to hide it here. Okay, so yeah, so that should be it. So make sure you copy this entire function. This is the general itself. So we have two functions within this one. And then we're going to apply that inside the, or assign that to module that exports. All right. So let's expand that. Okay. So what are the places that we're going to modify or update? Okay. So we have two places. The first one, we need to modify this section, the data here. So we're going to customize the format for that one. So right now we have this the formatter here. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply that function in here. So let's try that one. So now we're going to test that one. Let's remove this two pix value here, and then let's call that function. To call that function, let's call the assigned variables, which is the self. Then we're going to call that function, which is the format number. Okay, so from here, let's apply the value for that. So the first one is the decimal places, which is the 2, and we set this to true, right? Make sure we set everything. But take note, we're still on the detail. So let's see how it looks. And there you go. So, all right, that works on our detail section. So next, let's modify also this total value. The same goes. Let's copy this one. Then from our total formatter, so it should be this one. Let's apply that. Going to remove this one. Then we're going to assign the decimal places. So that should be 2. And we're going to assign it to true. Okay, so make sure you're on the quantity. Let's try that. And there you go. So I guess we need to increase more for the space. So let's head back for this one. Okay, so let's adjust everything from this section. So let's say going to set this to 150. And for the category, going to set this to 150 as well. And the rest, I'm going to set the width to 50. Okay. Okay. So let's try the header also. Okay. So this is the only thing that takes a while. So you need to make sure that everything's aligned to what you're trying to build. Let's check that. Okay, so notice here. Okay, good. So really, this size width does matter. So we need to increase this quantity. Also, this one here, the footer, going to adjust also this section here. This is 4 and 3. Let's check that. Okay, so one more, I guess. So let's say should be 80. Okay, that's for our header. And here, let's move to 80 as well. Okay, so only this section here. So this section here, this one. So probably this the limit here. It occupies all the space, so that's why we only see some few values. But once we move that, let's say, example, going to move this to port 3, see? So that's the display concern. But anyway, I guess you have to figure that out. So I'm going to just move this one. Okay. So you only get the idea. So basically, that's how it works for the formatting. So besides from one, or aside from this one, there's also another features for that. So basically, what we're trying to do is we can modify any format. So if you have a default value, so most of the cases we can modify or apply the functions that we know from JavaScript. So we can also apply that. But also that doesn't mean that uh, it will only take effect for the number value. You can also adjust that also for this numeric string here, like this one category like this. So also you can also adjust that or modify that as well. So let's say for the category, you're going to add something like let's say an asterisk. Okay, so you can also do that for this string value, just like this. So so feel free to explore and see what are the formats which you wish to apply here. So this is one of the things that very much common in Fluent reports, but almost we covered everything, this formatting section. So only this section here. So you need to figure out so how to align this one. So also I'm going to check this as well and see how I'm going to format this one to see if I'm going to make it on this section here. So that's it, guys. All right, that's it, guys. Hope you consider subscribing and please like and share. And see you guys in the next video series. Cheers!